Hey everybody, it's Mr. Johnson, and as we continue to explore the idea of westward expansion, we run into this idea that is called manifest destiny. Now, manifest destiny is a really interesting concept, and we're going to dive into what manifest destiny is and what it means. But before we do that, there's a really important historical concept that I want to teach you so that you understand how to look at manifest destiny from more than one perspective. Now, perspectives are really important, and when we begin to look at things from different perspectives, we run into this concept called a worldview. Worldviews are essential for us to understand history, and we have to be able to know what a worldview is and understand how worldviews work for us to really grasp these big concepts in history. So let's talk a little bit about what a worldview is. So what is a worldview exactly? What are we talking about when we talk about worldviews? Because it's really important for you to understand that when we look at a historical event, the worldview that you're looking at that historical event through is really important. But it's also important to understand that the people who were experiencing that event had a different worldview than you. And the people in the classroom, the person sitting next to you, is looking at that same historical event and looking at it through a different worldview. And so the big question would be, what is a worldview? And that's the reason I chose to do this lesson here in the coffee house, because I think that I can use this running illustration, or better put, an object lesson, to help you to see what a worldview is and to help describe a worldview in a way that I hope you'll remember. And as we look at the different historical ideas in Westward Expansion, because we're going to continue Westward Expansion, we still have to look at the California Gold Rush. We still have to look at the first transcontinental railway. And as we're beginning to explore those things, the Oregon Trail, one of the things that I want us to be clear on is we have to understand they all had a different worldview than what you have. And so we need to look at it, or do our best to look at it through a different lens. And that's why I think this illustration using coffee is such an important thing. So let's dive into talking about what a worldview is. A worldview is, for lack of a better term, it's a filter. It's the filter that you view everything in your world through. That's where the word worldview comes from. It's the way I view my world. Now, some people view it differently than I do. And it's because we have different filters. My filter might be based on my religion or the way that I grew up. My filter might be built on my experiences, or I might filter things through the experiences I've had in life. I'm going to filter things through my culture and my race. I'm going to filter the way I view my world through all of these different things. I'm going to filter the way I view my world through the age that I am, through the different life stages that I'm in. I filter things differently now than I did when I was 18 and single and still in high school. And you are going to filter things in your worldview differently someday than you're looking at them right now. And so we need to understand that everybody who is a part of a historical event has a different worldview. Everyone. None of us grew up exactly the same. In fact, even my sister and I, who grew up in the same household, she viewed things through the eyes of being a female. I viewed things through the eyes of being a male. Also, she now has a completely different worldview because of her experiences. I wouldn't say completely different, but mostly different. She lives in the Midwest. She has one son who is in college. She is a college professor. She filters things differently than I filter things. And so that's why I thought coffee house might be a really good object lesson for us. I've got a few examples here. This is one type of filter. This filter, it's called a portafilter. This is the filter. I don't know how well you can see, but you can actually see through the filter. This portafilter is what we use to make espresso, right? That's one kind of filter. This filter is a cold brew filter. it goes into a cold brew pitcher. So you drop those two together and you sync them up, and you filter the beans through the cold brew filter. This is a basket filter. Goes into a basket, and then it goes into a coffee maker. You put the grounds in there, right? Each of these is a filter. And I want to show you how filters work with coffee and how it's similar to your and my worldview. I want you to look at coffee beans as information. This is a blend of Guatemalan, coffee from Papua New Guinea, coffee from Guatemala, and coffee from Chiapas, Mexico. If you were to pull out one bean, one of these beans is from one place, and I can't look at the bean and tell you this is an Ethiopian bean or whatever. All I can do is say that this bean comes from one region, and this particular bean would be called single origin. But when you put it together, this is an espresso blend. This is information that we're processing. These are the things that we're looking at, whether we're looking at a historical event, something that happened before, or maybe we are in the middle of something. Like, for instance, COVID-19 is going to be a historical event that will be studied someday. And you're living that right now, and you're processing through it right now. This is information. And so look at the coffee beans simply as information that you gather, okay? And it doesn't all come from the same region. It doesn't all come from the same place. Some of it might be information you're getting from your parents. Some of it might be information you're getting from the news. Some of it might be information you're getting from your friends. And it all comes together and it blends together to make a pile of information that you are getting about a topic. So I want you to look at the coffee as information. So I have this information here. What is it that I do with the information? There's lots of things I can do with this information. And what the machine that we put it in actually helps us to understand the information more. In this illustration, you are represented by the machine. Each one of the machines that I'm going to show you today work differently. Each process works a little differently, just like you do. You have a particular way of processing information. Some of you take your time and process. Some of you process very quickly, and maybe you don't look at all of the little details. You're focused on the big details. Whatever it is, however it is that you process information, it's going to kind of dictate what you do with that information. And so how you process the information is really important. And each of us is different. You're not the same as me. You don't think the same as me. You don't process the same way as me. You don't have the same personality that I do. And so as you take the information and as you process the information, there's different things you do with the information. As you grow, there's different things you do with the information depending on the assignment. I might be asking you to create a political cartoon where you're going to do something different with the information. Westward Expansion, when we start talking about manifest destiny, we're going to be looking at it. What about the perspective of the indigenous people, the Native Americans? What did Westward Expansion mean to them? To think about that, to think about how we process the information, to think about what machine the information goes through, I think is really significant and really important. And so as we're moving toward talking about manifest destiny, it's a really important concept to understand worldview. And so let's look now at that filtering process. So now we're taking the information and we're going to put it in a particular machine. Just like you and me, not only do we have a different personality, process differently, do all of that, but we also have a different worldview. And so I'm going to take this information, right, and I'm going to put it through this filter. Now that the information has been processed, the information is going to go through the filter of my worldview. So here we go. So now the information is going to go through the filter of my worldview. It's going to be processed, and it's going to end up creating a product. And the product, in this particular case, is what we think. What do we think about a historical event? How do we view a historical event? How does a historical event impact you? How does it impact me? What are our thoughts on that? And that's basically what it produces. So we get the information, right? it goes through our mind, who we are, the makeup of who we are, and then it goes through our worldview, the experiences that we've had, the culture that we're a part of. And that is what produces how we view a historical event, or what we think about a historical event. So here we are at a different machine. So this is representing like a different person, a different way to process, a different way to think. And here you have the same beans. Okay, these were poured out of the same bag. It's the same information. So the same information has been given and put into this pool, but it's going to go through a different filter. It's going to go through a different understanding. And so it's going through a different kind of filter, which is going to create a different kind of product. As many of you know, when you take and put coffee, same information, same thing, into a different kind of filter, it's going to create a different kind of coffee. In this particular case, it's going to create espresso. Wow, and these are really good espresso shots. I'm looking forward to drinking this. And so it's important for us to see that it's the same information, it's a different person, and it's a different worldview, a different filter that they're looking through. And so their thoughts on the same event, the same exact event, or the same exact concept, their thoughts on that are going to be different because of the filter of their worldview being different, and the person that they are being different from the person sitting next to them. So overall, the really important concept that I wanted you to grasp and that I wanted you to learn is that when we look at historical events, it's important to think about worldview. What is the filter that all of the information is going through? And so I really want us to think about this as we talk about Westward Expansion. What we need to do as we historically engage in these really amazing concepts, things like Westward Expansion, things like Manifest Destiny, as we really start talking about them, we have to understand not everybody looks at it the same way. And we have to do our very, very best to respect the views of everybody. I am not going to sit here and say that espresso is better than cold brew. I'm not going to say that espresso is better than drip coffee. They all have their purpose, and they all have their meaning, and they're all very important. They're all very important to me. You might not be a coffee drinker, so you might not understand that. But I use all of them, and each one of them has a particular use. And I feel my life is more well-rounded because they're all there. And that's how we need to look at worldviews. Because I can hear things from someone else's worldview, my understanding of something is going to be better than if I just look at it through my filter. So I hope you understand that concept, and I hope you can really think about that as we dig in to Manifest Destiny. So let's look at Manifest Destiny. That's going to be today's class topic. And so when you join on to the Zoom meeting, be thinking about worldviews and be thinking about the different filters of different people as we have discussion on Manifest Destiny.